What's the most NSFW experience you witnessed right in front of your eyes? A girl blowing a guy at a bus stop at like 2 a.m. She then threw up and continued sucking his dick. Never change, Glasgow. Edit, for everyone worried it was them. It was in June of 2013. Glasgow, I was going to call bullshit, but this checks out. Driving Uber, I caught a dude jerking off in my car. Turned around and he had his dick in one hand and his phone in the other hand recording it. It kind of stunned me at how bold he was. I kicked him out and still charged him for the entire ride. This was one of the reasons I bought a dual-facing dashcam. You should have charged him a cleaning fee. Think of the lengths he'd have had to go to prove he didn't make one. He'd just have to show the video. Worked at an aluminum plant. One of the mills was down for a few days. I went to the pulpit to sleep and chill since I didn't have shit to do. Walk in and two of my co-workers, both men, both very much married, banging away. I just turned around and left. The rest of the time I worked with them was awkward for sure. I was in a train compartment sitting by a window. It was broad daylight. There were two young students, boy and girl. Suddenly the girl opened the guy's fly and started to jack him off. I did not know how to react, as nothing like that happened to me before. Also, they blocked my way to the corridor. They did not even close the curtains, so the conductor girl passing by saw them too, and apparently did not know how to react as well. Then they got off on the very next stop. I think they did not have a ticket. Driving on an interstate highway about 75 miles per hour when I see the car in the left lane start to drive a little erratically. As I passed the car on the right, I saw what looked like the male passenger finger banging the woman driving, who looked like she was having an orgasm. I quickly got away from them to avoid an accident. Edit, for all those who are asking, this happened in New York State around 2010. The only thing I can say about the couple was it looked like they were in their late 50s or early 60s. When a friend's brother moved to Ohio, he was carpooling with his coworkers and one nudged him to look over at the car next to him. The driver was a woman naked DJing it up. Ran into a burning house as a teenager. It was an old couple just a few houses down from mine. Got through the living room, into the dining area, but smoke started getting bad. Got down on my knees and crawled to the hallway, to look into the bedrooms. The couple were dead, in bed, burning. I know this by the shape of the lumps, not because they were recognizable. I learned two things. 1. Don't ever run into a burning house. It's dumb. I got lucky. 2. The smell of burning humans is something you never forget. My mother killed herself by setting herself on fire, and I didn't see it happen, but I saw the aftermath. You're right, you never forget the smell. Jesus, I hope you're alright, that is devastating. My gym is on the second floor and has big windows facing the parking lot. One day I was standing at the window catching my breath and happened to look down. There, in one of the parked cars, were two of the other members completely naked and going to town. The woman's face wasn't visible, but she had a distinctive tattoo, so I immediately knew who they were. On the plus side, working out was really paying off for them as they both looked quite fit. Here's one of the funnier ones. I was doing a health and safety security patrol at a multi-day music festival, doing a walk around in a field used as a parking area. All looked well, so I stopped to have a breather when this naked guy pops out of some tall perimeter grass. He was very high, completely sunburned, and a ginger at that, and sporting a really huge boner. I mean big. Like a horse cock dot, and he asks me if I've got any water with me. So I walk over and find his equally high, sunburned, and totally nude female companion laying in the dirt, and she starts giggling her face off while thanking me for saving them. I had a supply pack with me, so I gave them each a bottle of water and tried to convince them to get out of the sun and seek shelter. But as soon as they downed the water, they started ducking right on the ground, right in front of me. So I proceeded to pull out my spray sunblock and explained loud and slow to them that I was going to spray them down, which I did while they continued their boinking. I finished up, left another bottle of water by them, and then walked a bit away to give them some privacy while I radioed the situation and location into the festival paramedics. I will never forget how big that boner was, and I hope it was spared peeling from that terrible sunburn. Ouch. That scene, with you just standing there, spraying them with sunblock. That had to be completely surreal. I was just trying to get them covered as much as I could without getting it in the eyes and mouths. I was like, okay guys, I'm gonna start spraying the sunblock now. Try to hold still for a minute and we'll get this done. Yeah, just stay still for a second. Can you close your eyes and mouths for a second? No? Okay. It was like being at a beach and trying to wrangle a couple of toddlers and get them to stay still long enough to spray on sunscreen. Very tricky. And yes, laughably surreal. In a club in Berlin, Germany. It was quite sex positive. A woman in her 30s sat down next to me on a weird chair and we started chatting. At some point during the conversation, a man kneeled down in front of her and started to fist her, consensually. She didn't break eye contact. She didn't even flinch. She just continued the conversation like normal. I had no idea how to deal with that and didn't want to be rude, so we continued the conversation and I tried to ignore the man who had half his arm in her vagina. You were speaking to a very sophisticated hand puppet. I worked the night shift and had just returned home around 4:30 a.m. and went to check the mail. My GF and I round the corner and see a girl bent over on top of a car getting railed by a guy. We immediately turn around and walk to my door, but then have second thoughts to turn around and check if she's okay and not being attacked or anything. Turns out she is a coworker and she was definitely very okay with what was going on. Lol, in my mind y'all made eye contact and she noticed your worried gaze, so she gives you a thumbs up and you do the same and walk away whistling. Hey, Rizzo. Get a load of this boning I'm getting. Work colleague was using the cardboard compactor jammed, so the Muppet climbed into the still powered on compactor and started jumping and stamping on the cardboard sticking out. Super NSFW, and he's lucky he was noticed before anything terrible happened. My boss climbed into a green cardboard baler, the kind where you put the wire through and twist it, and the front opens for the bale to fall out, while it was running. It was going up when he climbed in, but I saw him on the top, under the blade, with the machine whirring, so I sprinted over and pulled the lockout box lever, and accidentally kicked off a hydraulics line. He yelled at me and wanted to write me up, and in my first time yelling back at a boss, I was 19, yelled at him and tell them what? That I didn't let you climb into the crushing machine while it's running? Go ducking, tell them. Wow, duck the boss for yelling at you, you probably saved his life. WTF was he thinking? WTF was he thinking? Possibly shock, possibly just a shitty person. If Hess dumb enough to try and climb into a machine that could kill him after working in that industry long enough to become a manager, then Hess probably dumb enough to be mad his employee didn't let him. A coworker, just before quitting, took a shit in their cubicle. They wanted to have him charged with indecent exposure, but since no one saw him, besides me, and I wasn't admitting to having seen it, they dropped it. They also tried to use the defecating in public laws, but the police pointed out that their office was in fact private, not a public space. The man became a legend around the office. This feels like a logistical nightmare, but I respect the energy. I was on holiday with my wife in the Canary Islands. We were on the beach all day and we made the mistake of taking a shortcut through the sand dunes. It was a hot, sweaty and tiring walk, and surprisingly long walk. Then we wandered into a porn shoot. 2 lithe young ladies getting it on. Full 30 rated content. Nobody batted an eyelid except to motion us around the back of the camera to keep us out of view. So we just kept on walking to the hotels. Very, very surreal. Technically that was SFW since they were working. But were they wearing sunscreen? Were they adequately hydrated? Maybe we can get somebody from security to help them out. I watched a man fall when his rappelling gear failed. He fell about 100 feet, and the sound his body made when he hit will haunt me forever. He broke his spine, pelvis, both legs, one arm, and an orbital bone, but he survived. There were a lot of people around to give first aid, and I helped carry him out of the canyon to the ambulance, and I swear I thought he was dead already. He looked like thawed hamburger meat. The Rangers? Park Police? Not sure what they were, took our info, and a few days later, to our surprise, the guy was alive and wanted to see the people who carried him out. He gave us all some really nice leather backpacks from the company he worked for. I still have it some 20 plus years later. Edit update, the guy was in the hospital for many weeks, but after a very long rehab he made a nearly full recovery. That was mostly due to him being in really good physical shape before the accident.